Where was I? Rudely interrupted by a call. You can buy inert gas that you just basically spray into the top of the bottle, and that provides exactly the same protection. So then you pop the cork in and maybe extract the air itself, whatever the case may be, that will preserve it. But if you don't want to do that, just use your vacuum van, just put the cork in, but put it, especially if it's red, pop it in the fridge, because that will help you to keep the wine and preserve the wine for that little bit of extra time. Typically, I would say with a red wine, if you chuck it back in the fridge once you've drunk it for that particular night, then it should keep for about 4 days. And it's going to deteriorate a little bit as each day goes by, because once the oxygen gets to that particular wine, it's beginning to beat it up. It's beginning to turn it by natural, just by nature, from wine into oxygen. I'm losing the superlative that I'm looking for. So that's one of the things. So I recommend, but you always tend to put the cork back in the bottle as soon as you've used it, especially if you don't intend to drink it all that night. Other things that you can do, there's loads of different things on the market. Don't believe this one about putting a silver spoon or even any spoon into champagne. It's an old wives' tale. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. If you want to believe in it, fine. Yeah, leprechauns, they're great as well. So are pixies and fairies, but none of them are coming to save your champagne with a silver spoon. What else can I talk about when it comes to preserving and drinking wine? Well, let's have a look at the bottom of this bottle. So this is called the shunt of the bottle. And an awful lot of people used to say to me, it's got a really deep dent in there. That means the wine must be really good. No, it isn't, so that the winemaker or the waiter can pour it and look flash with one hand. No, this is actually just dependent on the bottling facility of that particular grower, or it could be if the grower doesn't have access to his own bottling plant, he may well use a bottling facility. Or in most cases, if we look at something like this Indio here, this is a Montepulciano, which is unfiltered, and it has a deep shunt because over time it will develop some sediment, and that shunt that's in the bottom is designed to catch the sediment so that it doesn't go into your glass when you pour it. So there's no need to really decant it gently over a candle or anything like that. You have that in the bottle. Now, if you've got a white wine and it's got a deep shunt, then that's just the bottling plant. So if we look at this one, this is a Côte de Rhône, not very deep at all. It's totally filtered. It's designed not to age. It's a 2019 vintage. It's fun. It's fruity. But is it going to age? Is it going to improve? No, but there's one good reason why it's around £10 a bottle. But if you look at this Pinot Noir, that's fairly decent in terms of its shunt in the bottom, but it doesn't, again, necessarily mean that it's going to improve. Now, it's got plenty of gongs and it's got plenty of things, and let's see if it says anything on the back. No, not a word about how long it's going to keep. So you're not going to know, but you could do a little bit of research. This is from the Lleida Valley in Chile, and that will tell you that because of the area that it comes from, that it will improve just a little bit with aging. It's not a longevity wine. It's the sort of wine that will keep and, have a bit of fun with. You don't want to drink it when it's gone past its drinkable date. And no one really knows, because that's very subjective and down to you as an individual. Now, let's say you've got a really old wine, a bit like me, that's very aged and gone past its best drinkable and sell-by date, and you open it and you go, ugh, smells a bit funny. What's going on here? Well, there's a number of things that can happen with that. It develops something often called bottle stink, which is a very technical term where the bottle itself doesn't stink, but what's inside the bottle has just deteriorated. And there's ways that you can get around this and revive the wine. First thing to do, decant it. Chuck it into a big jug. It doesn't need to be a crystal decanter. If you want a decanter, just nip down to the charity shops when they're open, if they ever open again. Pick one up for £4 or £5, bring it home. But a big jug does the job just as well. If you don't have a big jug, just get a funnel and tip it into an empty bottle and then tip it back in to the original bottle. That does the same thing. It's aerating the wine. Now, once that wine has been aerated for a little bit of time, that stink should naturally dissipate. And you'll only really get this with older wines. This term called bottle stink, which is just where the wine, it's a little bit tired. It's almost become sweaty. It's been laying around in a bottle for a long time. It's gonna stink for a bit. If it doesn't go, or if it's something where it's quite musty and it really doesn't smell pleasant, then it could be corked, which there's not bits of cork floating around in it. It is a technical term again in wine where they say it's corked, and you see these snooty waiters and they go, it smells cork to me, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's bits of cork floating around. So there is a way. Let's say you break the cork and you've got all these bits of cork floating around, just grab the top of the bottle and just like a whiplash, and that will fire about a little bit, maybe a centimetre of wine straight out of the bottle with those bits of cork, and hey presto, it's done. So let's go back to the old wine. So you've got rid of the bottle stink, you've decanted it, you taste it, and you go, still doesn't necessarily do it for me. I was expecting something a little bit better. Just get a spoonful of port. Just pop it straight into the decanter, swirl it around a little bit, and what the port does is it brings it back to life, it revives it. It's almost like it's performing CPR on an old wine. And that will improve the aroma, it'll improve the taste, and it's only for a very, very short period of time. Now, this is on really old wines. So wines that are 20, 30, 40 years of age, it will work incredibly well with that. If you've got wine that's 3 years old, no, it's not going to make any great difference to it. So, Bob, and anyone else who's seen this particular video, I hope that particularly helps you. Sorry about the break in between, but you've got a good 10, 15 minutes worth of value from me. And give me a thumbs up, make some comments, let me know what you think, and I'll continue and do some more. Cheers.